Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. Today is stage 15. It is a cold and nasty 230 kilometer stage. This one's ugly. Wake up, come down, stare, flip on the computer, and I'm watching the stage. It was aggressive for the first 2 hours. Takes a long time for the breakaway to get away and establish. That means the racing was incredibly intense at the beginning. Now when I've turned on and I'm 60K from the finish, I'm watching dead men walking here. These guys are barely pedaling. They're hurting and they're trying to fight for every pedal stroke. When you have a big headwind, like we saw in today's stage, this is really difficult for everyone in the field when the wind's just blowing from all different directions. Sometimes it can be really nice. You get a headwind, you slot right in. It's smooth, you get a draft, it's great. But when it's swirling headwind like we got today, it's causing riders and blowing riders all over the place. So it's causing them to kind of bounce off each other. Now you're throwing the fact that the announcer said it was 4 Celsius. That's like 40 degrees. When it's 40 degrees to 45 degrees, that is some crazy temperature there. To be in the saddle this length of time, this far into a Grand Tour, and you're wet, you're cold, the wind's blowing you all over, and you have to pay attention all day long. There's never even a point where you can just sit up, take your hands off the bars, and put your jackets on and change clothing and relax and then come back. You'll see the guys struggling throughout this stage just to even get their rain jacket on because it's going fast enough trying to chase the front group. It's a large group up there, so it's going fast enough where riders just can't pull over and dress themselves properly. It's blowing too hard to be able to take both hands off the bike. You're cold. You can't feel your fingers, your face, your nose, everything's numb, and your teeth are chattering. This is a nasty stage. On TV, when you're watching it, you really got to appreciate it. The final part, when they're chasing the breakdown, it's all really tight and close. Finally, they bring in the Decunic Quick Step rider, Catania, and he put on a show. He really held off the group a long time, but eventually the legs give out, right? It's 230K, and you got multiple teams back there chasing. UAE Team Emirates, you see them on the front there at the final. They're trying to control things for their sprinter, Jasper Philipsen. We saw him earlier on the sprint stage at this Vuelta where he put on a fine show. I believe he finished second running to Sam Bennett. But when we come in with 2K to go, you're going to see the favorites sit up. And all the GC guys sit up. What this has done throughout the last 20 years of bike racing, and I've been racing anyways, all the riders' unions have been arguing to have the races safer and more safe and more safe and more safe. So now they realize when on a course like today, when it's this cold, it's this wet, they don't want to come in to that 1K where you have the sweeping right, then you follow a left, right, left chicane, followed by another left, slightly uphill, followed by another right. What that does is just make things dangerous if you got GC guys in there fighting, and then you got the sprinter guys fighting with a bunch of small GC guys. That's when accidents happen. So finally, organizers, UCI, the riders have gotten together to neutralize this section and make it where only the sprinters and the sprinter lead-out guys who actually are going to try to win this stage are fighting in the front. So all the GC guys, when you see them drop off with 2K to go, they're not going to lose time for that. That's allowed, permitted. They can stop racing under 3K to go on today's stage. They drop off at 2 because that's still safe up to 2K. After that, it starts getting really crazy. Once we get in the 1K to banner, that hard sweeping right turn there, you see the UAE Team Emirates. They're sitting about 4th, 5th there. Jasper Philipsen has one guy in front of him taking care of him. That guy chauffeuring him through. They go through the left, right chicane. They're still in the top 4 or 5 spots. It's fantastic. They come out of the chicane. Another hard left. You start the bump. And you'll see the UAE Team Emirates rider pull Jasper Philipsen up and drop him off at the front there. This is when Jasper Philipsen has to go to work, and he does, folks. He puts on a great show. He knows he wants to be first into that last right turn because it's only about 50 meters to the finish line there, and it's a slight uphill rise. Jasper Philipsen and Pascal Ackermann bump, and they bump pretty good. The difference between this bump and what we see in other bumps when there's a disqualification involved is Pascal Ackermann cannot see Jasper Philipsen coming. He's still a little bit behind him. He knows he needs to come around the Deceuninck Quick-Step rider's wheel, and so he has to fade left. When he does, Jasper Philipsen's already coming right, and they bump. No damage, no harm, no DQ or anything like that. Jasper Philipsen drives it all the way to the line for a really good win. Well deserved. You see the celebration after the line. That team's been fighting for this win for a long time. Today's stage was incredibly hard on the riders. In some ways, when you're watching it, it looked kind of simple. Break up the road, field catches, field sprint with just the sprinters. But it was much more story involved with that. Everybody that finished today's stage is happy to get back in the bus, get a warm shower, get in some warm clothes, and finally start getting the body temperature back to that core level that really we like to function at. Today was ugly for those guys. Now on the jersey today that I brought, this is the Tour de Leon. 2009, I'm about 37 years old, and I brought this for a good reason. I went into this race, I had been training pretty good back in San Diego, jumped on the plane, flew over to France. This is a small French Cup stage race. It's important for the French riders and stuff. On a world scene, it's not a World Cup race. It's not a big classic by any means. So I arrive at this a little bit under form, and when the racing starts, I realize I got better fitness than I thought I had, and I find myself in the race leader's jersey, starting the last stage, and we're going to go up to finish. It's the summit finish on the Col de la Colombière. Col de la Colombière. There's a bunch of different Colombières over there in France. It's easy to get them mixed up. But anyways, when we start the stage, I'm feeling great. Legs are fantastic, better than I ever thought. And I got 3 fantastic Spaniards. They can all climb. Jose Luis Rubiera, amazing domestique. We all know his name. He was fantastic. Could do just about any mountain there was and ride tempo, especially on a field quality that we were experiencing here at the Tour de Leon. I got Danny Navarro, another amazing Spaniard, doing a great job, and Jesus Hernandez, who is an amazing guy too. So 3 great Spaniards starting the last climb for me. And then myself. We got 4 guys from the Astana team there. I got it all under control. I only have to deal with one, René Tarame, that's fighting second on GCs, that's trying to steal the overall. Thought it was locked up. Kofi just started attacking about midway up the climb, and I start realizing at this moment there's something wrong with the body. Not with my form. There's a difference. It's really hard when you're coming up through the ranks and you're trying to figure out your coaching and your training and all that stuff, because fatigue all feels the same. But there's a difference between being tired at the end of the bike race and something else being wrong. And this was the very first time in a bike race I'd felt this. Go back about 2-3 weeks and I'm training in San Diego. I'd felt it for the first time out on a training ride. And I was in Torrey Pines climbing up, going up to the golf course there. It's really famous in San Diego along the beach. And I'm putting in a hard effort and my arms go numb. I finished that training ride. It was really strange. I had a good training ride, good numbers, good power, long day of training, but it was a really strange sensation because the arms went numb when I went up the Torrey Pines climb. Get back home, I tell my wife about it. After that day, I kind of forgot about it. Didn't even think about it. Now we're on this day, halfway up the Col de Colombière, and it's happening again. The arms are going numb. The legs feel okay, but the arms are starting to go numb. I try to punch it a little bit harder, and now everything is having problems. The legs, the arms, they're all going numb with a tingling sensation. I can't figure out what it is. I never experienced it before that San Diego day in training. Literally 2 minutes of it in my entire life I experienced it. Now I'm experiencing it again. Kofi just delivered the hammer on me. I end up completely exhausted and everything in my body numb when I'm coming across the line, and I lose the general classification and finish second overall to René Tarame. Now this was a blessing in disguise, though, really, because what I had felt when I was suffering on that climb, I went back to the team doctor and I called him up, and as soon as the race finished, called him up, and I said, Doug, there's something wrong. His name is actual Dog, not Doctor. He's a Belgian guy. So anyways, I call him up, and I say, Doug, there's something wrong. And he's like, wow, no, you look like you're on really good form. You finished second overall. You just, got dropped by Renee, and what's wrong? And I go, yeah, but I didn't get dropped because of fatigue. I got dropped. There's something else happening to the body. I think it might be asthma. So I'm 37 years old. I've never had an asthma attack up until this point in time that I've been aware of anyways. You could have had smaller versions that you're never aware of. So I hop on a plane. I fly back to my Spanish house. Next morning, I hop on a plane. I fly back to Belgium, and I have my wife with me. This was worked out great because we were limited on time. The Tour of Spain started in like 10 days or 14 days later. And so we were limited on time. I get over to the Belgium hospital where Dog works, and he puts me in this magical glass bubble, and they do all these tests. And they find out I have severe asthma. So at this point in time with the UCI, you had to have all the TUEs to start the asthma medication. Nowadays, if you have any kind of asthma, you can just do your Symbicort. You don't even need a TUE. You just need to see your doctor, get the prescription, you're good. But in these days, you needed the TUE from the UCI to be approved to take it. So the doctor looked at me immediately when I'm in the bubble. Normally, they give you 5-6 rounds of histamine test. If you find out you have problems breathing, even a small problem, you can be approved for the TUE. I never had a TUE in my entire career before this moment at 37 years old. So I come out of the bubble, and the doctor's freaking out, and he's just like, wow, you lost 26% oxygen. I said, what are you talking about? He's like, you got severe asthma. I was like, okay. So they start that asthma medication. And with that, from that day on, I never had those symptoms reappear as bad as long as I was on the medication. They would reappear again in smaller forms and dosages, but never quite like I had on that particular day. It was a big difference. The doctor actually told me you've probably been living with it for 10 years, 15 years, and it just hadn't reached that boiling point to what you felt on this stage right here at the Tour de Leon. So that day, even though I lost a jersey, it really changed a lot for me because I realized once you started the medication, how much better I could breathe. Today's an important day to pay attention if you're a young rider, even if you're 40 years or 50 years old, you could be feeling symptoms that I felt, and it could be a health-related symptom that could be fixed and help you back on your bike, training better, feeling healthier, and of course, riding at the level that everybody wants to ride. Everybody wants to be better. So keep that in mind. This is a short story that might help you in the future. Might be something you have. I was 37 years old when I figured out that I had asthma. Hope you enjoyed the butterfly effect. See you guys real soon.